Hello and welcome to the 10th episode of Tailoring in Conversation. In this series, I'll be talking to tailors from all around the globe to gain a better insight into their worlds. My guest for today is Taishi Nobukuni. Taishi is a bespoke tailor from Tokyo, ex-fashion designer and creative director, and according to his own words, an architect being a carpenter. Sounds interesting? Let's talk to Taishi. Taishi, how are you, man? Good to see you.
Hey, how you doing? Let me show you something. This is a Tokyo Tower.
Ah,
Can you see?
yes,
Let
I
me walk
can.
down to my house, studio.
Sure.
Yeah?
Okay,
Yeah.
that's
So
fine.
this is Tokyo Tower.
Yeah.
Can you see, yeah?
Yes, I
That's a,
can.
yeah. It's like Japanese Eiffel Tower, sort of.
Yes. Yes. It seems like,
And
are you, how?
these are buildings. See?
Yes.
This is like,
Uh-huh.
yeah, there is Adidas in this building on a 43rd floor or something. I don't know. Yeah.
Oh, really?
So it's, yeah. Headquarters
Huh.
of Japanese headquarters of Adidas is in that huge
Okay.
building.
So you live there now?
Yeah,
Do you live there now?
nearby. I'm walking back now. It's on the way.
Oh, is that, okay, so you're very close.
Yeah, and this is a traditional tea house. They're still doing tea
Yes.
ceremonies.
Ah. Oh, yes.
Can you see?
Yes, I can.
So the people in a kimono gathered here, then have a tea
So
ceremony.
how
This
often
is the
are people
entrance.
going there?
Like twice a month or something. Not so
Oh, I
often.
see.
This is the
Do
entrance.
you ever go there?
No. It's not for me. It's more like upper class people.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, look at that.
And
Now I feel like I'm in
that's my
Tokyo.
room where the surfboards are sticking out. That's my studio
Oh, I
or my
see.
house.
Oh,
Really. Yeah. So
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
going back. It's on the way.
Okay, well, first of all, thank you very much for making the time, Taishi.
Yeah. You're welcome.
It's great to have you here, and I look forward to all
Thank
the
you.
things that we're going to discuss.
Uh-huh.
First question that I have before we kind of like dive into some of the topics that we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
If me and you were 10 years old and we would be friends,
Uh-huh.
what would we be doing right
Uh-huh.
now?
What if I'm 10 years old?
If me and you were 10 years old and we were friends, what would we be doing right
Uh-huh.
now?
I was how do you call? I was into gun so much when I was a kid.
Guns.
Gun. Yeah, Smith and Wesson and Colt and stuff like that. So yeah, that's what I was doing when I was 10 years old with a friend, talking about guns and making like a plastic model of guns and talks about how great German guns are and stuff like that.
So where did that interest come from?
Comic books and some movie books. Like in which movie if we use one, like, Dirty Harry's typical 44 Magnum and stuff like that. Then, yeah. Mm.
Right. Did you have anyone in the family who also was interested in guns?
Not at all. But my ancestor was sword maker. My ancestor was sword maker. So I'm fascinated those beauty of, how do you say, functional beauty or whatever. Same as clothes, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Yes.
Also
So
three dimensional. Three
yes,
dimensional
would you say you were more interested in guns particular or weapons?
guns. Gun
Guns.
particular.
Okay.
Yeah. I was not into tank or I was not into airplane, but I was into gun so much somehow. Yeah.
Right. Okay,
Mm.
so how do you transfer your well? How do you transition from guns into tailoring? I mean, there's a big gap in between, but tell us a little bit about how your journey kind of went from the 10-year-old boy interested in guns up until someone who's more into clothing, because I know you have some experience in fashion as well, and how that all went.
Like when I bought first gun, I bought Smith and Wesson's 45. 45 Smith and Wesson government, court government. But friends of mine bought Walther P38. Then after he made it, I borrowed his Walther P38. That's kind of what I felt from even when I see garment of Tominatas, like even his like flare, like bottom or whatever, like waistline and stuff like that. That same feeling of my seeing Walther P38. It was so different, so sexier, very, when you even like have like in your hand, that was like feeling of grips and stuff. So
Yes.
three-dimensional, completely different. Yeah, so that's the difference of between Tominata suits and more like straight, what I mean, not so beautiful suits, yeah.
Do
So
you?
it's already about 3D. That's like thing, 3D. Especially men or boy like 3D, even robots or crate or whatever. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. Do you have? What would you say well, how should I phrase the question? When you were growing up, did you see a lot of things around you that encouraged you to develop your interests in shapes and objects more, or was it something that you really had to discover yourself because you didn't have a lot of input
I had
from
to
the
discover
external?
myself. Yeah, because my high school was quite academic school, so that made it more difficult to find out someone who knows about those things. So I rather got to more like going out, nightclub or whatever, then got to find another sort of friends, not from school. Then they could more like teach me more like artistic side of life or way of living or that. So that was so difficult, very difficult. Yeah, I even want to like curse the school system a little bit because that made it so difficult. Yeah.
So what
So
were you
because
studying?
I was just high school, so just general. But before more like specialized in, we needed more information. But rather they push you to decide which school you're gonna go. You don't. Who knows? We even don't know what we're gonna do. Then how we gonna know which school we're gonna go? It's very, very, yeah. Very difficult.
Did you have any concerns about not being able to get the information that you wanted to have to pursue your interest, or how was that all? Did the school provide anything for? I mean, although they would push you in a specific direction that maybe they had in mind, were there still facilities around you where you could kind of like express your creative side?
I mean, school or those teachers even don't know. What I mean? They even like very rigid people, so they don't know what's really going on outside, or so they can't teach you. Yeah. Very difficult. Yeah.
Is that still the case with high schools?
Yes, I think so.
So
Yeah.
how are the art academies and the places where the creative part of Japan can kind of like learn and explore and the things that they want to do in the artistic terms?
I don't believe those school systems really function. Really, like if you want to go to Tokyo University of Art, you got to have the exam of like drawing and stuff, and you can't get in like couple of years or something. Then you become so good at drawing, and what's the point, Yeah, that's what school is like. And one day I went to visit some sort of artistic university. Then I was invited to some sort of graduate exhibition. Then I talked to the guy in charge of those education system. I told him, if I'm a parent of these kids, I'm gonna really pissed off. What? I mean, after 4 years, they can't even make any single garment or anything. They rather have so much conceptual dream or as artists or clothes as art or whatever, but they can't even make one piece of jacket or trousers.
Right. Well, where do you think those schools fail? What is it that they're missing, you think?
I don't know. Not take fashion as art too much, More like a good standing point between craft and art. That's But
do you think
on the other hand, on the other hand, I think those famous fashion school like Bunka or whatever, I think they started course of fashion design without sewing or cutting pattern, not at all, because they still have selling sort of dream of being artist and craft, like Yoji Yamamoto, who is a magician with scissors or whatever, But nowadays, those Ralph Simons or Dries Van Noten, I mean, the way they design is completely different. I saw the documentary of those two of them, and that's a very important reportage of this century of fashion design, which is they don't use any scissors or they don't even draw a drawing. More like it's about editing, Editing.
Right.
That's the thing. Editing, yeah. So I believe new fashion school should be about editing image, and that's more like pure fashion design. Yeah, I think so.
Would you say that one of the big gaps that maybe art schools in general, and perhaps that bleeds into tailoring schools as well, that they have is they can't seem to make a bridge between the technical side and the creative generative side, the part that creates and generates and the one that translates?
Yeah, I think it's better be completely opposite and different. No between or mixture. That makes it's bit very, I don't know. Funny thing is, right? I mean, Japanese tailors believes you got to master the button holes before you learning anything,
So you have to master the buttonhole first.
This is another topic. Yeah, so I recently found many old people have image of tailoring as some sort of purely skill, you are good at calligraphy, or when you are good at it, like karate, like black belt or something. So some people believe there is some sort of black belt in tailoring or something,
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So they believe it's a completely skill. It's not about art anymore for those people. I think that's I don't know. It's
well, this is very interesting for me. It seems that from what I understand that you say is that the technical aspect is one set of skills and the artistic aspect is another set of skills. Now, there should be almost some sort of a third skill, which is the bridge between these two that combines them. And that skill is the combining of the artistic side and the technical side. Is that correct?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, so how do you think that anyone in tailoring can focus on, well, what do you think they should focus on first? Tell me a little bit about what you think about the journey. Like, how should a tailor learn tailoring from your perspective, and when should they pay attention to what? How much?
Like for example, some type of people, even me, when I see someone wearing suits, I rather see sort of silhouette and stuff, like how, overall, like silhouette design and the waistline and the armhole, all the balance. But the other, some type of people rather see the buttonholes. Oh, this is nice buttonhole.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So it's a matter of aesthetic, but it's also how you focus, like some type of women focus on detail so much. That's why they care about manicure and stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, if you see all the, whether you see the forest or a tree. Some people see only tree. Yeah.
How do you think the clientele, the bespoke clientele, influences that? Do you think that they have some sort of a bigger than we think impact on what tailors focus on, whether it's a tree or a forest, or do you think that those things are separate?
Sorry, I didn't get that. What did you say about client?
How big do you think the influence of the bespoke clientele is on the things that tailors tend to focus on? So do you think that clients influence tailors to look at the tree, or do you think they influence the tailors to look at the forest, or do you think they're not related at all and it's the tailors telling the clients?
I think client choose tailor who has the same range of those, focus point.
Influences, you could say.
Yeah. So when you see some tailors' work, you can easily, connect with it if you have the same sort of eyes. I think so. Yeah.
How was your journey into tailoring? Because when did you start, and where did you learn, and how did you develop it, and what happened?
I'm a fashion designer. I did MA in St. Martin. Then I did my own collection. Then I become chief or like a creative director of like a Japanese Paul Smith kind of brand. Then I don't know. I felt like in collections like putting something in a microwave or something. It comes out automatically, You know what I mean? You don't really work. You don't even cut or don't do anything. But like hundreds pieces come out automatically from a factory. Then I kind of, I don't know. Yeah, fed up in a way. I rather want to make things like, spontaneously, like clay, playing or whatever. Yeah. Then I met two tailor guru. One is a guy who made suits for baseball players and stuff. He was in quite entertainment world. And he was known as he make very light suits because suits used to be very English and very bulky and very heavy, but he become known as a very light sort of suits. Yeah, but now I can tell the way he does is not really that light. He was quite sticking onto Japanese way of making, especially the canvas. Yeah, but the way he does was not really Italian. So he kind of made a so light version of Japanese classic suits. Yeah. And after that, I studied a bit from a guy who made suits for emperor. Yeah. Guy called Hattori-san. Hattori-san. Yeah. You can still see his blog called Tailoring Diary or something. Yeah. King Tailor. His shop name is King. I recommend this to all the Western tailors because his knowledge, especially of the like how to say a justification of like trousers and stuff. It's so more how to say detail, more sophisticated than any other Western tailoring book. Yeah, so detailed. Yeah. Like he measure distance of like knees and he measure how angle your foot and it's all about how he changed the way of his shaping and ironing on each figure type of legs and this. Yeah, so detailed. Yeah, I recommend this so much to Western tailors.
Right.
Yeah.
And where can we find this? This is a book you said, right?
It's on our website. Yeah.
Right.
Taylor or Hattori. His name is Hattori. Yeah. I recommend you to use automatic translation app or whatever, you know. Yeah. Even though it's Japanese. Yeah.
Okay.
And I found I learned many things, but I couldn't learn about the style from those guys.
Right.
My wife just came home. Yeah. Anyway.
Sure.
Yeah, I thought I couldn't find master of style. That's why I visited Joe at Savile.
Yes. So how long were you
with
these two tailors that you just mentioned?
Pardon? How long were they?
How long were you with them?
A year with the first guy and a year with another guy.
How did you find their process? I mean, obviously they were showing you things and you were doing things. Because I remember when you visited us on Savile Row, you were helping out and you were kind of like observing and doing things around. Did you have a similar approach to there, or was there a plan to teach you like, hey, step 1, step 2, step 3, or did you just kind of like were you there and were you kind of like observing and taking notes?
Second teacher was like weekend class, so it goes very slow. But first one, I mean, a guy who taught me first was not Taylor himself, rather his sort of like Johnny, you know, in Chitoboro, like Johnny, sort of very skillful old guy.
Yes,
I learned from one particular, technician or mechanician who is like Johnny, you know. He taught me everything from beginning to the end. I mean, So in front of him, I made my own garment. Then he taught me whole the process. Yes.
Well, okay. How do you describe the tailoring scene and industry in Japan at the moment? And how do you think it was? Do you see a big kind of like growth? Do you see a big improvement, changes? What are the things that you are observing nowadays?
I notice people like one generation younger than mine who are like 40 something, you know, who has grown up in 90s sort of people. They more of them gone to like Italy and wherever. Like they are more into artisan comparing to my generation, because my generation had more like a boom of designer level still. Of the big fashion, things are more like interesting, I think. Yeah, so sometimes I think like why there like even younger people are into those, artisan or crafts. Then I found that's because designer became more boring after my generation. Like 20s, beginning of the century was not so. All the fashion design become quite practical and realistic and not much fantasy in it anymore, I think.
Why do you think that happens? Is that something to do with the spirit of times, or do you think that's why do you think that is?
I think Lehman Brothers things.
Lehman Brothers.
Collapse of Wall Street, I think, and the collapse of the global economy, I think.
Tell me more. So. This is a very great, interesting point.
Yeah, I mean the 80s was like pumped up macho everything, which is like decorated boom of economy. But in after the 90s and the beginning of this century, it's kind of their lie kind of revealed, and they can't keep themselves. That, I think symbolically, Lehman Brothers collapsed because of that. I think.
Would you say that people's fantasy over a specific time period is very much connected with how they feel about risk in their life and the management of their resources?
Rather like a opportunity rather than a risk, I think. They're more like excited about one sort of direction of economy. Like I mean, everyone thought it's gonna be okay. In short,
Yes.
yeah, but it wasn't.
So would you say that one of the biggest factors in creativity, maybe artistic production, could be the outlook on the opportunities that society has to offer, and maybe a little bit of fear as well, like, am I going to make it tomorrow? Am I going to be able to have investments, or can I go to college, or can I have this? Am I going to have a job? You think that's going to limit the creativity of the artistic mind?
Yes, I think so. Yeah, even like political tendency of people, even that affects fashion so much. I think so much.
Tell us a little bit more. How do you see politics shaping fashion and people's interest towards clothing?
I think LGBT things make people who like men to be men or the opposite like feels not guilty, but whole the atmosphere is completely on that direction of LGBTQ sort of. Yeah, yeah. I mean, even climate change issue, that it's just a political bullshit, I think. It's not scientific things, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Right. So where would you say their influences are on people's view on clothing and perhaps dressing and the way they tend to express themselves creatively on an artistic level?
Like more people go to kind of leftist sort of, left wing sort of way of thinking. Then all the sexuality becomes more like androgynous, more like metasexual, you know what I mean? Yeah. But more like right wing or like a traditional way of mind of people, it's become more like heterosexual men and women sort of. Yeah, yeah. I think so.
Do you think that maybe a left-leaning politician or someone who's a right-leaning politician, they may have a very distinct and specific preference about the type of designs that we have to have in society in terms of clothing? And do you think one may be kind of like restricting, or one may be less restricting? How do you look at that? Because I can imagine if someone has a very conformist mindset and is like, okay, we need more borders, we need more structure, we need more organization in society, maybe they tend to be less creative when it comes down to new designs, new fashions, and maybe someone who's more open and more, let's say, capable of making loose association between subjects, maybe more creative in some domain. How do you look at that?
Like On the surface, it looks like those two things are conflicting on the surface, but actually it's already 95% dominated by left-wing sort of way of thinking and aesthetic and politically correctness. Yeah, I think so. Even like how to say energy issue, because people believe electric car is more like sustainable. That makes like 50 like that makes like 50s classic car not so beautiful, Yeah.
I see.
And that makes that like climate change of sort of way of thinking makes people more like stuff like Brown's calculator, or more like how do you say, very industrial sort of design, not so dramatic or more like minimalism, minimalism. Yeah.
Yes,
in that way,
yes.
everything really affects in many ways, I think. Yeah.
One of the things I'm thinking about a lot, and I don't know what your answer will be to this, is Japan has a very big and rich reputation of fine craftsmanship and high levels of skilled artisans. Somehow, I haven't seen that same reputation translate through in the world of tailoring as much as Japan may be known for like certain artistic productions. It seems that the tailoring industry in Japan is still quite small, and it hasn't been able, or hasn't had the time to create a huge reputation on that level. Do you think I'm kind of like seeing it correctly, or do you think I'm misreading it?
In short, everything is so Italian. In short, so Italian. I mean, 95% who are into bespoke suits is into Italian. Yeah.
Why is that? Is that just purely because of the climate, or is that people's taste? Or what
Two things. One is lightness because of the climate. The other thing is the shoulder.
Yeah.
Because how do you call this in English? How do you say, like?
What, square shoulders?
Square shoulder. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Japanese end of the day square shoulder. Yeah. So we don't need shoulder part,
Huh.
Yeah.
That is very interesting. So you say that the majority of the Japanese people who wear tailored garments have square shoulders, therefore they don't need any shoulder pads, and that's kind of like dominated the style?
I think so. Yeah. Like Hattori-san, tailor of Emperor, he told me he took many alteration of Japanese guys bought Italian, tailor stuff, and typically he altered everything more like square shoulder, because Italian tailor tends to make it little bit too, how to say, sloppy, or opposite to the square shoulder. Yeah. And the other day, I met a guy called who does a cold course. He's a French, Firenze, Fiorentina Japanese tailor, Miyahira-san. Amazing stuff he makes. Yeah, and he agreed with me. Yeah, Japanese are so square shoulder. He made thousands of garments, and his conclusion is Japanese shoulder so square. Yeah.
That is very interesting. So basically,
yeah.
How is it with the ladies? Do the ladies have square shoulders as well?
Yeah. Comparing to Western, I guess, yeah. So what I got to do is I got to make, Tominata with a shoulder part or Chitobro Morgan with a shoulder part. That's what I got to do, you know what I mean? But that makes me to make
Yes.
style, Yeah.
Yeah. So how has that been received so far? Because I remember the last time we met in London, you said that one of the things that you wanted to do is to promote the structured style a little bit more in Japan because it was kind of like underrepresented. How have you found that? How has that been?
I think I can't promote the structure itself, I mean, end of the day, it's got to be less structure anyway. We can't deny the Italians' influence, It's got to be even lighter than Italian stuff. That's what I found, yeah. And even Miyahira-san's stuff make me feel so even more because his stuff is so light and so light. I tell you, so light. Unbelievably light. Yeah. Yeah, and but still, I think even like sleeve head can be loped shoulder. Even it's very light. That's what I want to make. Yeah.
Do you think that if a garment is made with the same structural lines, but with a very light construction, that would be more appreciated? I mean, are people more fussy about feel or look?
Yeah, and I think details of English tailoring. I mean, some sort of too muchness or heaviness or rigidness of detail of English tailoring, like for instance, change pocket on a, or whatever. I think that can exaggerate the lightness of the garment if that's made in very light. You know what I mean? Like, for instance, if there is a very always smiling guy who become suddenly so angry, that makes him so angry. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So if garments are like English detail, that looks a bit heavy or rigid. But if you wear that, it's so light that makes you feel more lighter. Yeah. So in that way, English
Yes.
detail is still function, I guess.
So you could say it's kind of like the clash of expectation sort of thing.
Yes. Yeah.
Huh.
Once Michael Brown.
Yeah.
He told me once Oriental customer some kind of how to say complaint to him. But
Okay.
automatically I could feel what he felt. Because those constructive shoulder on constructive, naturally born constructive shoulder of Japanese, that makes him something weird, I guess.
Now, how do you think? Do you think that the well? Okay, let me see if I can phrase this correctly. Do you think that the historical events and let's say maybe you could say with historical events I mean let's say economical climates, weather, geographical climates, people's cultures, their values, Do you think that that has had a significant impact on all the different tailoring styles around the world? Or do you think that it's not really to do with that and it's more just like a matter of taste, let's say?
I think a matter of temperature, I think. More like, and the matter of the stickiness, moisture.
Huh. Temperature, you say, yeah?
More like moisture, yeah. Japanese are not just hot, it's more like so much moisture, especially in this season. So that makes me feel... So suits was already kind of unnecessary things already, but these lockdown stuffs make it more unnecessary, you know, in a way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. But on the other hand, it's gonna be more like luxurious, pleasurable things, not for like occasion or anymore. You know, it's more like self-satisfaction, I think.
Do you not think that people will be fed up with staying home and being in their sweatpants and at some point just have this desire to dress more formally and perhaps wear something more formal?
I think so. Yeah. Even online, like that makes some people more fashionable, maybe. Yeah, like you know, just fashion for Zoom or whatever. Yeah. Because maybe you don't even need trousers, you know. If you have one really good jacket, that makes you feel looks so good. Yeah.
Okay. Some different direction. I know you're a surfer. How does any of your surfing and the mindset, the discipline, the balancing on the waves translate into tailoring in any way?
Yeah, like mindset, like you lose subtle dissatisfaction. You usually have very subtle dissatisfaction. Like that makes you, if you are, smoker, that makes you stop working with your needle sometimes and just make you feel like you need cigarette or something. That kind of subtle dissatisfaction. But after a while, after served, I can work without dissatisfaction. Yeah, and also I do many way of thinking from tailoring into the wetsuits design. So yeah. So tailoring is beneficial for surfing.
Yes. Well, did you say you're designing wetsuits?
Yes, I do. Yeah. So I use the way of tailor thinking about the thigh and the sleeve and the foreshoulder, especially foreshoulder. Yeah. I and even like I bent the knee, of the leg of the wetsuit. I made a kneecap with plastic 3-dimensionally. Yeah. So it's my wetsuit is so 3-dimensional. Yeah. So different.
Well, how? Tell us a little bit more about how do you translate the way you, let's say, you're standing in front of this sea, this ocean, right? And it's you against the wave. And obviously the wave is this giant force. Sometimes if you're tailoring, at least this is from my own experience, when I'm sewing something or when I'm making something, I have this image in my mind that I'm trying to achieve. And when I cannot achieve it at that given moment, I feel like this wave is coming at me, this giant force. It's like me against the fabric, me against the technique, me against the material.
Yeah.
Sometimes it looks as if the material is going to be way more powerful than I am. And so I have to develop this kind of like perspective of no matter what is going to happen between this fight between me and this material, I am going to win. How do you have like similar thoughts and feelings when you're surfing and then when you come back and you're kind of like sewing things and something goes wrong? Tell me a little bit about it.
It's very deep. Yeah, it's we call that zone, Zone is like non-dual experience. Yeah. Yeah. My surfing guru said it's from Chinese writing, but it says best way to do is to be, So instead of you do something to ocean, you got to be the ocean, Yeah. So maybe
that is very powerful,
so maybe,
Yeah.
So maybe you can say same thing on a garment, like you got to be the one with the fabric and yeah, you got to listen how fabric want to behave. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's same thing. I think. Yeah. So you got to be part of it.
Well,
instead
it seems
of controlling.
Yeah. That's the funny thing because if when you how do you let's talk a little bit about this. How do you become if you're a tailor? Let's specifically stay within tailoring, right? Or anything else. You can give examples. What you think? If someone is trying to learn tailoring and they hear our conversation and you say instead of doing it, become the thing first until you understand it, and then you can do whatever you want with it because then you are it, right? So and that person hears this and they're like, no, I have to become a double-breasted jacket. How am I going to become a double-breasted jacket and kind of like make these shoulder lines happen? What would you say? Like how do you become something that you cannot be physically? You know what I mean?
I think let's say this way, like what prevent of your being with one with a garment or whatever is, I think, it's a subtle laziness, I think. It's very relative to the other comment of subtle dissatisfaction. It's same thing. Subtle feeling. Yeah, that's always that blocks, Yeah. So if you become completely honest and if you completely surrender to your garment, all the laziness is gone and you have more clear mind, Yeah, like sometimes you don't want to see your mistake, you know what I mean? Yeah. But if you become more surrender, everything is gonna go more smooth, I guess. Yeah. Surrender, yeah.
Well, it seems that what you're saying is that if you ever feel dissatisfied about your creation, you are learning something or you're on your way to discovering something new.
What? Is that a question? Sorry, I didn't
No.
get that. Sorry.
Is that what you mean? Is that what you mean?
Could you repeat that? Sorry.
Sure. It seems that what you're saying is that when you are dissatisfied about your creation or slightly dissatisfied, that's when you're learning something new and that's when you're on your way to something new. Is that correct?
Yeah. Or like yeah. Correct. Yeah. I mean, let me say this. In short, whatever holds like paradise or nirvana or whatever, I can explain what this is very, very simply. That is, I've been all talking about those subtle dissatisfaction and subtle laziness. I think nirvana is where you completely diminish those subtle, some sort of uncomfortable feeling. Yeah, I can tell this. Yeah, somehow.
Yeah. Okay, well, I have a question. It's clearly not pleasant for most people to be dissatisfied about whatever anything, right? We want to be satisfied and we want to be, accomplished, and we want to make sure that whatever we do goes well. But the
Yeah.
key is in those dissatisfactions, as we've discussed. Now, how can one get comfortable with the uncomfortable, and how can one get comfortable with the feeling of dissatisfaction and embrace it? I mean, it's a very what I'm going to say. Everyone has heard it, like, welcome the mistakes or welcome the failures, but it's such a vague concept for most people to understand. It's like, well, yeah, how am I going to welcome something that goes utterly wrong, right? How do you think that can be done? How can someone make a mistake, embrace it, and then make that part of them, right? And then continue on to the next mistake. And then after 200, 300 mistakes, you are like this collection of, you could say, micro wisdoms about whatever that is that you're doing. And you can kind of like tackle on bigger challenges. How would you say that one can start to be happy about slight discomfort and slight dissatisfaction?
Mm, some part of your brain which kind of help visualize of yourself. You have some sort of photographic or theatrical image of yourself. But if that part of the brain, I think it goes more like function better or worse. I don't know which one, but if we kind of like give up those visualization of yourself, that makes it more less dissatisfaction. Because always pain or dissatisfaction comes from your idea of yourself, like you are made, like yourself made mistake or something, If you don't visualize a guy who's made mistake as yourself, you don't worry much anymore, or you don't feel dissatisfaction. You know what I mean? Yeah, that kind of things.
Yes.
So I think spiritual practice or sadhana, whatever, have some kind of effect on that field of brain or that sort of mechanism, I think. Yeah.
So something along the lines of, be first of all aware of what sort of a mental image you have about yourself. That's the first thing. Is be aware of what the image is that you have on yourself, and then also make a set of rules, maybe, of how the actions that you have in the world and the things that are thrown at you affect that image. And that image is something alongside maybe an ideal version of yourself or the current version of yourself. Which one would you say it is?
I think like base of your visualization of yourself, like there is some sort of base underneath of the base, like even like a canvas of the what you project your movie about yourself, or space which contain everything. So if we can shift our consciousness on that level, like small me or you or small identity kind of dissolve into the background. So it's not like going for nothing. It's rather going become more like everything sort of way, That's a shift of awareness, I think. Yeah. So when I'm surfing, like I always think like 360 degree, like who is where and in which way this guy is gonna come, or and that makes like me more sort of I don't know, bigger spacey sort of consciousness and less individual or less egoistic mind, I think. Yeah. So if you have that mind when you are working on garment, I think you will find your mistake easily, or you will be more alert to everything, all the, and that makes your garment better, I think. In that way, surfing is beneficial for.
Do you think? Yes, yes. Do you think that being engaged with a handcraft makes people more aware about their inner voice and their self-image in ways that maybe they wouldn't be able to get when they are when they're not working with their hands?
Hand is key. Yeah, because it's only way to stop your working with your brain, Yeah, when you're working on hand, you don't think too much, Yeah. And in like mid-century in Japan, like 15th century or something, there are people who are called myokojin. They are like lay people who are typically craftsmen who make sandals and stuff like that. They are into like chanting the mantra.
Yeah.
So even though they are not academic, they don't even go to school. Some of them don't even can't read, but they learn the mantra. Then while they are making sandals, they're chanting all those mantras, and many of them become some sort of Buddha. Yeah, they left many poems and stuff, but from their poem, you see they are kind of awakened people. Yeah. I read about a funny story about a German shoemaker called Jakob Böhme. He's a Christianity practitioner and also the shoemaker. And sometime when in the middle of making shoes, he becomes so like trance, like a strange state of mind, and he couldn't act for while and stuff, become so meditative. Yeah, I believe I believe his shoemaking make him be more sort of, spiritual, I think. Yeah, very connected.
Do you think that? Well, yeah. This is what I want to ask you. Do you think that? I mean, I don't know whether this is the right question or not. I'm sure I can phrase it 10 times better if I think about it a bit longer. But do you think that people who are engaged, who work with their hands and who are professional artisans have would you say they have maybe the potential to grasp their spiritual kind of like side a little bit easier? Do you think people are they closer to a trans mindset kind of thing?
Yeah. As you said, that makes those people realize easier. But also because they choose those profession or whatever. I mean, they knew that already. I mean, when I start doing tailoring, from the beginning, I felt some sort of spiritual moment, and I knew that makes me wanna do more. Like make me want to work more, because I knew that makes me meditative, and I knew I liked being that state. So from the beginning,
yes,
even unconsciously, many people knows. Yeah, I think so.
Well, I've had moments that I was practicing, let's say, figure drawing or life drawing or anything, and I've had moments that for maybe like about an hour, 30 minutes, I wasn't there. Like it was my hand that was just working away, and I wasn't really conscious. Although I did feel a lot of joy, like exceptional.
Yeah.
Exceptionally powerful
I know. It's
joy,
called
you know?
bliss. It's called bliss.
Yes.
It's
Yeah,
called bliss.
well,
Yeah.
one of the things that I think about is you don't get that instantly when you just start something out, because when you just start something out, you probably can't even hold whatever you're supposed to hold, or you can't even balance if you're trying to balance on something. And a lot of people give up in that stage. And what I'd like to know is, well, how where does it start? Like, what is the soonest that someone can get to that level of flow, let's say, or that level of not being there, that trance level, you know? Is it possible for someone that hasn't, like, because I can understand if you have experience in other crafts, you already have certain disciplines and micro routines in place that allow you to start this new thing. But if you've never done anything with your hands, and you're just starting out, right? How quickly can you get to that stage without feeling all the overwhelming frustrations that whatever you're doing throws at you? You know what I mean?
Sorry, I miss the point of your question. Sorry.
So basically the question is, how quickly can one get in that state of being in trance and being just like one with what you're doing, when there are so many barriers for someone, for example, starting out, that it almost makes them sometimes even give up before they get to the really good part?
I think it's about memorizing like transition of process unconsciously. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like for instance, if you make pockets and if you do something, but if you are like thinking, oh, I did this now, then what should I do next? That's not so, not like river. It's not automatic. It's more like thinking. But once you
Yes.
go beyond of that level, which is instead of you are thinking what you're gonna do next, you already doing something. So if you reach that level, then everything can be meditative, or I don't know.
Repetition and automating the process, basically.
Yeah. There are two examples. One is I think that is about like Tibetan Buddhism kind of ritual things. There is one phrase says ritual is gonna bring you, ritual itself or your technique itself is gonna bring you, like once you get used to it so much,
Yes.
you being like on a flow. You know what I mean? Yeah. And the other
Yes.
stuff, I saw the movie about the tea ceremony. It's about communication between very young girl and very mature tea ceremony teacher. And the young student asked teacher, why should I do this? Why should I do that? Then teacher said, don't ask anymore. I mean, like once you can do it, like your mind's gonna be into the shape. So you imitate what you do. Then after that's a proper way of feeling or heart or mind comes into your shape. Yeah. It's very deep and very good.
Yes, it seems that what the first example that you gave reminded me of a quote. I can't remember who it was from. It was it? I think it was the painter Matisse. I could be wrong, but the quote was, "Make sure you become technically capable, and if there is something within you creatively, that will come forth, right? Because then you have the technique that will allow you to express yourself, right?"
Right.
Which kind of like links us back to the very beginning of our conversation when we said there is the technical part, there's the creative part, and then we also need a bridge in between it, right? Right. So,
Yeah.
and then the second thing that you say reminds me exactly of the second part, which is in the process of trying to imitate an object or a vision that you have to do a lot of, you have to pay attention, discover a lot of new things, which will kind of like fuel your creativity, because you have to think of ways of imitating the object, right? Like, how can I be this pen, right? So I'm going to be thinking about all the different ways that I could be a pen, right? And then that seems to be the engagement and the firing of the creative side, and the flow in which you get once you have some of the technical part and some of the creative part seems to be that bridge. Would you say that that's kind of like the case?
Yes. Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think we've explored a good amount of both technical questions and spiritual questions and creative questions. So I would say let's leave it at that for now until the next interview.
Okay, let's do that next time.
I've enjoyed the interview, man. It was great to think about along these lines, and and I've learned a lot of new things from the things you said, so it gives me a lot more to digest.
Okay. Yeah, let's do that again.
Yes, thank you, Taishi.
Really enjoyed. Yeah, thank you, Raza. Yeah, thank you. So let's talk about Closmo next time.
We'll do.
Yeah.
We can. No, I think that went really well. I hope I haven't taken a lot of your time, and it's been good, man. When are you going to be in London next?
I don't know. If I don't need to vaccinate it, I can go anytime. But I don't know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, have many people been vaccinated?
How was demo anyway? How was that demo? That was big one, right? In London, people marched.
Which demo?
I don't know, Freedom March or something.
Oh,
no?
yes. There was. It didn't get a lot of news coverage. That's the first thing.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, and I don't think there were that many people.
Right.
Compared to what it could be. Well, what the problem is that there is a group of people who has genuine concerns about the vaccine, right? They are like, hey man, I don't want a vaccine passport. I don't want the vaccine. I prefer to die with this bloody disease, and just leave me alone, right? Then you have another group who, they're not really concerned about the vaccine. They just use it as an excuse to further their own things, their ideas and whatsoever. So those are the activists that maybe have different agendas, but they use the vaccine and the Freedom March as an excuse. Once these two people, these two groups blend, then the message gets diluted, and then we don't know who to listen to. You know what I mean?
Right. I see.
So it's a little bit tricky, but I know what you mean when you say that the half of the world is already leaning towards left thinking, political frameworks, let's say. It is very visible around me, and also when I open my browser, the 50 news that I see is about racism, about diversity problems, about activism, about global warming, all these things, and it's a little bit of an information overload, I should say.
Yeah.
and there doesn't seem to be a dialogue or a conversation between the centrists and the left leaning and the right leaning. It's just like they project their things, and it's more like a fight, let's say, a battle instead of a conversation. You know?
Yeah. I think a gap of the people in England is so absolute, so opposite, and because of so much BBC brainwashing, so much. So 90% of people are completely BBC minded people, but only 10% of people are completely awakened that BBC is a complete liar. I think
Yes.
so. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, do you see similar things in Japan? Do you see similar trends in Japan? Are people more
I think
right
Japanese are
leaning,
like
left leaning? What are these?
Japanese are like 30% are awakened. I think a bit more than English people. I think so. And I think more in American, like 40% of American. Yeah. But because the English are so fewer, they are so more like very, how do you say, very tense or very, very awakened, I think.
Yes. Taishi,
Yeah.
there is something I do before you leave. There is something I always do, which is a speed round. So I give you a few words, and you tell me the first thing that comes up your mind. Okay?
Okay. Wow.
Okay. So let's start. Savile Row.
Savile Row. Wow. I don't know. It's very difficult. Like a theme park.
Yeah. What would you say?
Yeah. It's like, I don't know. In a way, a little bit fake, in a way.
Okay. A little bit fake.
Yeah, in a way. Yeah. Historical, made up history something.
Yes. Oh,
Yeah.
resting on history rather than right. I see what you mean. English tailoring.
English rules. End of the day. I'm saying this a bit cynical, but I'm saying this, seriously. Both, yeah.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Italian tailoring.
Spaghetti carbonara.
Okay. Fashion.
What? What did you say?
Fashion.
Fashion. I don't know. It's even bit. I don't know. I rather hesitate to pronounce this word.
What is it?
People?
People. Okay.
Yeah. Not garment.
Surfing.
Surrendering.
Surrendering.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Spirituality.
Logic.
Music.
logic.
Logic.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm.
Okay. The ocean.
Guru.
Say again.
Guru. My guru is ocean.
Your guru. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Last but not least, art.
What? Last one?
Art.
No. Necessary, unnecessary thing.
Necessary.
Yeah, unnecessary things. Yeah.
Okay. I think we have done it. Yes.
Yeah.
What would you say if I want to make? I'm going to make a bio for this.
Uh-huh.
What? How should I represent you? How would you describe yourself? Bespoke tailor or teacher or what?
Yeah,
What would you
bespoke
say?
tailor. Yeah. Bespoke tailor. That's all.
Bespoke
Yeah.
tailor,
Bespoke
okay.
tailor. Yeah.
You're from Tokyo.
Yes.
And what kind of background would you say you have? What is your background, roughly speaking?
Like a ex designer.
Ex designer. Okay.
Yeah,
Fashion
I
designer.
always say architect being like carpenter. That's how I always express myself. Yeah, architect being a carpenter.
Architect being a
Yeah.
carpenter.
Yeah. I've been reading a guy called Nakajima. You know, George Nakashima,
Yeah. No.
who made
Nakashima.
Yeah. I think I got the book. He was an architect, but became making furniture stuff. Woodworker. He became woodworker.
You're an outsider.
Yeah. I don't know.
Definitely. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, my friend.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you again, and
Thank you
it's been
too.
great. I look forward to our
Yeah.
next conversation. Enjoy the evening, and we'll
Okay.
speak again soon.
Yeah. Let's do next one. All right. Bye.
Take care, Taishi. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.
And that was Taishi. I hope you all enjoyed the conversation. And if you want to see more from Taishi, you can follow the link to his Instagram page in the description of this video. As always, if you have any thoughts, comments, or questions, please let us know. And we sure hope to see you again in the next episode. Until then, bye bye.